Why did the US attack Venezuela? What's in it for US?
The United States conducted an extraordinary military operation.
Answers to everything is in history. If you take away Venezuela, take away Russia, take away Iran, then you are pushing back at China. Everything US today is doing to make sure that China should not be a competition to US.
Where is Iran coming from? What is it trying to do? Where is Greenland coming from?
Iran will be taken out, and Israel will be the new hegemon in Middle East.
One is silver and another is copper. Is it industrialization? Is it investment demand? What's happening?
Samsung just took a silver mine in Mexico. Some automakers in Korea and US have tracked that thing. It's all in public domain. It's not that I have a separate information. Amount of silver required for that battery is very, very high.
I speak to so many fund managers, but this is one view that I heard for the first time. I've never had anybody tell me this of why they are investing in the US. Hi everybody, welcome back. Today's episode is going to be a lot of fun because in the kind of global environment that we are in, I think I would have not got a better guest for us to be able to demystify everything that is happening globally, because my guest today is a multi-asset manager who invests across commodities, fixed income globally, equities globally, and he's got a large over 2 decades of career experience managing investments globally. And please help me welcome Ritesh Jain on this particular interview. Hi Ritesh, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us today.
Thanks, Kirtan. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Ritesh, while I know about you and the background, I think a great start to the discussion before we actually move on and I start bombarding you with a lot of questions that I already have is for you to help the audience understand a little about your background, because I think that's the premise I want them to know of. How did you end up deciding or going long on gold so early before everybody started talking about it? And I want them to understand what your background is and why should they be hearing from you.
So I have a 20 years work experience in India, and possibly at the age of 35, I became the CIO at the Canara Robeco Mutual Fund, both fixed income and equities. The problem is when you become a CIO, you stop managing money and you become a salesperson. and mind me when I tell you managing people is more difficult than managing money.
Yeah.
But over the next 10 years, I continued doing that thing, first with Canara Robeco and then Tata Mutual Fund, where it was built up from $2 billion to $7 billion. And then moved on to BNP Paribas before moving on to Canada, simply because I got sick and tired of becoming a salesperson and I wanted to manage money. And I understand that, macro was not so popular in India. And I'm a macro guy. I look at everything from 36,000 feet. I can give answer about your career, about what subjects to take, what to buy, what assets to look at. All answers are there in macro. And investing becomes a very, very simple task once you have a thought process on macro. So when I moved to Canada, first 2 years, I said, talking is very easy in our industry. Everybody talks. So I started managing my own money. And I said, I know what is going to happen, but let's put it into practice. And then once it worked very well, I started 3.5 years back in August 2022 as a global macro fund. It was just with family and friends, money of $700,000. Today we are at between $14 to $15 million. We do not have a distributor. We do not have a sales team. All money is only through reverse solicitation. And the reason is not that, I want to take us some different path. The thing is, people don't understand macro. People simply get fogged out when you say macro investing. So unless somebody has read my thought process, he will not be a good fit to understand how his money will be managed. So whatever we are getting queries based on people, and that's why social media is something either you can use social media or social media can use you.
Absolutely.
Okay? So what I put on social media is just 5-10% of my thought process. But then people say, okay, we understand what he's talking about. We are also able to see the same thing. Nobody is telling us, but when we listen to him, we understand, yes, something he's saying is resonating in my mind. And over a period of time, I find that those people, they start becoming our client. So, and that is how I want to grow this business. Only people who understand that macro, investing is there. And the time for macro investing has come actually. That's the best part.
100%. I think there are two things that stood out to me in whatever you just said. I think I was very pleasantly surprised when you actually spelled it out, saying that the CI is more of a marketing guy than the fund manager.
Yeah.
And I cannot not agree with what you are saying, because I know exactly what you mean by that. And also, very importantly, not having a sales team and being able to directly talk to the clients, I think that's a very, very, very long drawn but very sustainable opportunities, because you've not missold anybody. People have understood why they are investing with you, and ultimately your performance is what leads you to where you lead, rather than sales techniques. So I think you are at a great place at the right time, and I'm sure the next time that you and I talk, probably these millions would look like billions.
Actually, no, I'm not interested in, managing big money. I'm doing it just because for my own satisfaction. If money comes, it's fine. Whatever money comes, it's fine. It will still be managed with the same kind of passion which I have. I manage my money with the same passion. So I want to give that opportunity for my clients just to have the same passion for managing their money.
No,
If money
anybody
comes,
anybody
it will come on its
I'm
own.
sure, but anybody who's following you on Twitter or otherwhere elsewhere, I think they will know how passionate you are, and there's no reason why this will not grow far
Yeah.
and beyond than you really wanted to grow. So, but having said that, thank you so much for taking the time out to be a part of the conversation today. I keep reading a lot of commentary that you write, and hence I want to start immediately. Talking about the biggest problems that we currently see are happening, and what are your views around it. So the first thing that I want to discuss with you is, why did the US attack Venezuela? What's in it for US? And while there is so much of commentary already around why they've done it, but how do you look at it? Because I know your commentary is very different from what I keep reading in general.
So answers to everything is in history.
Yeah.
Everything. They say history rhymes. It never repeats, but it rhymes. So it is exactly what it is. If you've read your history, you know what is coming. 1825, yes, yeah, almost 1825. They had a, US had a President Monroe, and that was a Monroe Doctrine at that point of time, because he spelled out that, we will not allow anybody in our backyard, and America's is our backyard. America's
Okay.
is our backyard. So when you say America's is your backyard, then you have Central, North, South America is your backyard. Interestingly, at that point of time, it was not Chinese and Russians or Iranians, it was actually Europeans. They were the colonial masters. It
Okay.
was the French troops which were there in Central America, and US did not like that thing. So they very clearly spelled out their own doctrine. We will not allow in our backyard. Then after that, the time changed. They did not require it, or whatever is the reason. Now they've spelled out currently the new Monroe Doctrine is Dunro Doctrine. Just M is just changed with D. And the reason is very, very, it's not too different a reason, that we will not allow China, Russia, or Iran to be in our backyard. Actually, it's a very hilarious thing that if people read that, it has nothing to do with, drugs. Venezuelan
Absolutely.
shoreline is 2,000 kilometers away from US nearest shoreline. Please tell me which fishing boat in the world can travel 2,000 kilometers and deliver it. It's a narrative which
Yeah.
Western media picks up. We also read the same narrative. Oh, it's drug. There is no fentanyl which comes from Venezuela. The fentanyl comes from Mexico, China. So what is coming from Venezuela? There's actually nothing to do with drugs. It's about that over the last few years, the US did not look at its backyard, and it allowed Russia, China, Iran to become much more involved in its backyard. Then there is second part of that China has now having a control over the rare earth metals, right? Everybody knows
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
But what China does not have is control over oil supplies. If you take away Venezuela, take away Russia, take away Iran, then you are pushing back at China. US is pushing back at China on this thing. So it's the whole game is a geopolitical game. One, we will
Sure.
not allow our backyard to be used for any nefarious activity. Secondly, we've become an indebted empire. Yes, every empire gets intimidated. So we will carve out the world in such a way where you kill two birds with the same stone. You say, my backyard is my backyard. Do not touch it. So you've seen that Russia and China couldn't do it anything because it's very
Yeah.
near to US. The
Yeah.
same way Taiwan is very near to China. Okay, that so you cannot go over there. So they will fortify it. That will include even Canada also. This is
Sure.
one they will. And then they are saying, okay, rest of the world is open. You know, we cannot be the monitor in the class looking at everybody. We will take care of our backyard, and then the rest of the world is open. So what they are trying to in addition, Venezuela has some resources which includes oil also. They used to be
Yeah.
4 million barrels per day. They are down to 1 million barrel per day. Can we increase it to 4 million barrels? Can we increase it to 3 million barrels? Exactly at the time when US shale boom is coming to an end.
Yeah.
Shale assets are not like traditional wells. Gawar oil field is still producing after 70 years in Saudi Arabia. Shale wells is like running on a treadmill, and you have to every day run a much more, much more harder on the treadmill. So those
Okay.
assets actually, lose value very, very fast. So your shale boom is coming to an end. You want to go into, Venezuela, have a little bit more hold on the oil for yourself, take out China from there. So you're killing all the birds with one stone. Plus, it was the easiest target that you could,
True.
you could show to the world. We can still do something. So these are all these things. Everybody has its own way of explaining this thing, but you have to put everything together. That today the world is divided between US and China. Everything US today is doing to make sure that China should not be a competition to US.
Yeah.
So usme Venezuela is one game kind of thing, just one.
So is protecting the dollar also a part of this equation, or because petrodollar for a very long time used to be the largest trade, and
Yeah.
is this going to help dollar in some way, or is dollar any intention in the scheme of things?
No, actually, this has changed in my view now.
Okay.
Till you were going after Gaddafi, till you were going after Iraq, Saddam Hussein, who was trying to shift the invoices from USD to Euro. Because US at that point of time was the biggest oil consumer and importer.
Sure.
In 2008, their oil production was 6 million barrels, but their own demand was 14 to 15 million barrels. So you needed the world to be stable, and so you could get oil from other people, give them dollar, invoiced in dollar. But now you yourself are producing 13 million barrels per day. You do not need to give a military umbrella to Middle East also. So petrodollar as it is dead. Secondly, you required USD to be the reserve currency when you want USD to be exported to rest of the world,
Sure.
and rest of the world exports goods and services to you. Now the rest of the world is now refusing to send goods and services to you in exchange of USD. Plus your own voters are demanding their own jobs back, which you have exported to rest of the world. So till the time you want to be, people need to understand that till the time you are the reserve currency of the world, it is your responsibility to police the shipping lines, to share your GDP with everybody so that your currency is internationalized and it can be used for global transactions. Now, most President Trump voters wants their job back. US wants to reindustrialize.
Yeah.
If the hegemon wants to reindustrialize, that means hegemon is saying USD is no more the reserve currency.
And which is why he wants it to be devalued over a period of time?
Yes. So if let's say let's say if USD continues to strengthen, I'll give you an example. We can arrive at a conclusion together.
Yeah.
Dollar rupee goes from, let's say, 95 to 120. Forget dollar rupee, it's South Korean won, Taiwanese dollar, the countries which are investing in USD.
Sure.
If USD goes up, the value of those currencies fall. How would those currencies will be able to invest in US reindustrialization? If you want South Korea to invest $350 billion in your country, if you want TSMC to invest in your country, you better make sure that your currency is competitive, that others are able to buy more of dollar and invest in your country. And that is why, if you do not want to industrialize, you do not care. If you want to industrialize, you need lower dollar.
Which is exactly why, correct me if the analogy is correct, because China has always been the manufacturing nation to the world. They've kept their yuan cheaper or devalued so that they could export, and which is exactly what the US is trying to do.
Exactly. So it was like they deliberately did it for 20 years. They decimated the manufacturing across the world, and now they are they are the manufacturing powerhouse, having 55% of global manufacturing. They are allowing their currency to appreciate. They're no more producing anymore. They're, as it is, under pressure, but they don't need an appreciating. They don't need a cheaper currency now. USD needs a cheaper currency. Euro needs a cheaper currency, and that's why when people talk about India, I feel very happy that the currency is depreciating. We are in a currency debasement world. As long as you understand that thing, we are in a debasement world. All the things will fall into place.
So, in India context, can I rephrase what you are saying as that if India's currency devalue, right, we can also be more competitive in terms of exports or exporting the manufacturing that we are trying to build, correct?
There is no other choice. Look, till the time inflation is 1%, you can actually continue to depreciate your currency. Devalue is a very strong word. Sure. You can continue to depreciate your currency till the time inflation goes to 3 to 4%. And actually, India needs 3 to 4% inflation for it to actually manufacture something. 1% inflation is too less for anybody to increase the capacity or manufacture something. So think about it, a world 100, 110, 120 on dollar rupee, maybe because of gold imports. Gold import, I do not take into account that it is necessarily bad. 120 on that, go to 3 to 4% on inflation, go to 11 to 12% on nominal GDP, and hey, you are back.
14% equity growth then.
Yes, which is down to 8% today. Most people don't realize that this is a problem with India. 8% nominal GDP, whereas 97 to 2023. It was an average was 12%.
No, I think interesting. So also help me understand the other two things that are happening. Where is Iran coming from? What is it trying to do? Where is Greenland coming from? And is China taking over Taiwan a given now?
Okay. So US has been trying to do sanctioning Russia, Iran, and Venezuela for some time.
Correct.
But sanctioning is not helping. So they are taking complete control of the oil facilities. Just complete control.
Sure.
Russia you cannot do. Russia you will do separate thing by cutting Europe out and maintaining very good relationship with Russia. I can assure you within 1 or 2 years, you will have US companies investing massively into Russia, cutting out entire Europe. Because Russia cannot be overtaken, cannot be taken out simply because it's a nuclear power. Iran will be taken out. Although it's a million men army, it is very difficult to do regime change when you have million men strong army in a place like Iran. And Israel will be the new hegemon in Middle East. So you're killing. So you will be given Middle East will be given to Israel to run once Iran is out, and you are actually helping Saudi Arabia also once Iran is out. And Hezbollah and all those things. If Iran is out, Qatar also becomes weak. So you are killing everything needs to be done within the next 3-4 months. It cannot be done 6 months ahead of midterm, because as you know, any country in the world, people vote based on what has happened to them life in the last 6 months. 6 months before
Correct.
voting. So
Correct.
they will do whatever is coming in next 3-4 months. It will not come after that. You want to
So
subdue Iran?
basically, what I understand from you is Iran will be taken out, irrespective of whatever the discussions are happening.
The chances now or never.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you are now on a seven. On the horse's back, because you think that you're undefeated the way Venezuela has gone.
Yeah.
That you think that you're on the seventh heaven. So you will go and do whatever is required at this point of time
Sure.
and help Israel over there. Now Greenland is a separate thing altogether. There is a Arctic. Ice is melting. This is a
Yeah.
new route. Secondly, Russia has a lot of bases around Greenland in Arctic. If there is a missile launch out of Russia, Greenland is the first place where you can intercept that missile.
Sure. Sure.
Secondly, Greenland has 25% of the world critical materials and rare earth, which are still to be explored. Okay,
Sure.
which is there. So there is no other place in the world outside of China which have these kind of resources. Third is you want to tell Europeans that time to take their security is serious now. There is a 2017 video where Donald Trump in United Nations stood up and said to German delegation, guys, you need to increase your spending in NATO. And the German delegation was laughing at him. You can see the video, German delegation was laughing at him. He's been telling them since the time he's become president again, you need to increase your spending on defense. Europeans are not learning. They're not listening to him. So that is why he needed to jolt them out of slumber. Secondly, Europe is a old colonial power. Please tell me in which world anybody would want to invade Europe, which does not have any resources.
Nothing. Absolutely.
Russia has $70 trillion of resources. Think of any country in the world which has been invaded, which has no resources. Any country in the world. Why would anybody want to do that?
Absolutely.
So they are cutting out Europeans dramatically out. How Greenland will be taken, I have no idea. Simply because the best relationship in NATO, in between US and any
Poland.
European country is it's Denmark actually. Denmark.
Okay.
A very small country, but they have been a very, very strong chalai.
Yeah.
But today US is thinking about itself, first of all. US does not care about anybody else because it's a matter of life and death. 120% to GDP. They need to reindustrialize very fast. They cannot take care of the world, certainly not of Europeans who've become woke, completely different ideology. So they are jolting them out of slumber and leave it to President Trump, who unfortunately is a very unpredictable guy. What Chinese and Russian says or Indian says about President Trump is, if we know a guy is predictable, whichever sense it is, we can navigate.
Yeah.
A guy who's unpredictable, like what he did yesterday on 10% on credit card, or whatever he's talking about defense companies, buybacks and all.
Yeah.
An unpredictable guy is a very dangerous guy. So whatever I say today, half of it will turn out to be wrong. Simply because I don't know about President Trump's mind. What I know is that whatever needs to be done has to be done by June, July of this year. It cannot be done after that. So you need Greenland. And how you take Greenland? You can take Greenland. It's very simple. You can take Greenland. The way you have, boarded a tanker outside Venezuela, a Russian tanker outside Venezuela, you've told the world anybody can now board any tanker in the world, because in modern history it has happened for the first time. A country, a tanker carrying a kind of outside of those pirated countries, a tanker carrying a Russian flag or any flag has been boarded by the Americans. So you are saying to Indians, you do whatever you want. You are saying to Chinese, you do whatever you want. So the world order is broken in front of you. If the world order is broken in front of you, I cannot tell you tomorrow that today night itself, US will say, okay, we'll send the special forces in Greenland, and tomorrow Greenland is ours. Do whatever you can. And Europeans cannot do anything. Let me be honest. Let me be clear. Europeans have deindustrialized themselves over the last 15, 20 years. They are sitting down. outside of Poland, as you mentioned. Poland, if I were to look at one country in Europe which has done wonders, it's Poland.
Poland. I think so. Largely, what I hear from you is that China is becoming extremely strong because of their industrialization, plus the rare earth metal, plus the way the world is shaping. US has tremendous problem with their debt and various other things, and they want to re-enter the industrialization phase, but they don't have resources. So I think oil is a great resource that they want to be more captive for them, like rare earth is more captive for China. That's the long story short. Do I hear
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Right.
And China did one more thing. There was a punch which Trump gave to China in 2017 when he talked about the tariff first time in 2017. China is preparing for the second President Trump presidency from that day onwards. They were ready for this thing when it came to them. That was a very big difference, actually.
True. Very interesting. Very interesting. And given what we've seen, I think it's very clear. It is, if today or tomorrow Taiwan is in the line of fire for China, right? There is no way that equation will not play out. I think if today not tomorrow, they will take over Taiwan because of the whole semiconductor business that will really feed into what China is looking at doing as the next step.
So, look, within 2-3 years, the entire semiconductor chain will be moved from Taiwan to US. TSMC ki second factory of TSMC is coming.
Yeah.
The way Hong Kong was subsumed in China without, any bullet being,
fired.
Fired. The same way, I believe, over the next few years, you will have Taiwan, which will be subsumed in China. You don't require anything more than that.
Sure.
But yesterday, President Trump clearly made a statement. Whatever, it's up to China, whatever they want to do with Taiwan. He made a statement.
Correct.
Why could he make a statement is simply because China's allowed US to take over Venezuela.
Yeah.
Very clearly, it's your backyard. You take care of your backyard. We will not interfere. So you could rub it in their faces simply because they allowed themselves to be rubbed in the faces, so that you leave the space open over here in Taiwan. You leave the space for Russians to take over Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine.
Your Russian population is so old, the people are so old and the young men have died that they don't have wherewithal to move outside of Ukraine. But think about now, if Russia goes into Mexico, will US like that Russia has come into Mexico? No, na. Same way Russia is saying, we had an agreement that nobody will come into your Ukraine. Now you want to bring NATO into Ukraine. How will I like it? So it was a very simple argument. We read Wall Street Journal and the Times and all those newspapers, so our opinions get made by that. But you read history. It was very clear that what American president had promised to Russia.
No, I think the way you put this across is very crystal clear, and I don't see a reason why most of what you are just saying may not end up being true. But like you rightly said, you don't know what Trump wakes up with tomorrow, and you don't know how and what mood is he really in. But largely the context is pretty set in the way things are geopolitically. There are absolutely no two ways about it, for sure. But given such a dynamic ecosystem geopolitically that we are in, let's say if I have a 3-4 year of investment view, because that's what the audience is here to hear us for. How do I split the 100 rupees that I have today? Let's say I have 3 to 5 years of investment view. I'm not restricted to geographies. I'm not restricted to asset classes.
Yeah.
How do I deploy this 100?
So how I have deployed for Pinetree is what I can tell you. Because that is, if whatever I have deployed is what I will tell everybody.
Sure.
I have up to 40% in commodities, which includes gold also, precious metals plus commodities, which includes oil and natural gas also, plus copper, plus platinum, palladium. All those ETFs are available in US. I have between 25 and 35% in US plus DM put together. But in US, I have never ever invested in mega cap tech. Because if you've read me before, I only look at picks and shovels model. like US infrastructure, electrification. There are enough,
Yeah.
all these themes are there. So those are
Yeah.
part of my portfolio.
Sure.
25 to 30% is in emerging market, and 5 to 10%, 0 to 10% is between cash and hedges. Now, the most important part over here is I flipped that equation off. In global equities, 65% is US, take another 10-15% is developed world. So almost 75% is developed world in global equity indexes.
Sure.
What I have with me is only 30% kind of thing in developed world, 40% is in commodities, and another 30% is with emerging markets, and a little bit of cash. Now,
Okay.
I will not change my view till the time facts change. What is that facts? That if US, instead of cutting rates, which we still see that they will want to cut the rates, they start raising the rates. At that point of time, we might see, some kind of changes. But within this 40%, the composition will change of commodities. But I do not think that I will be below 30% for some
Very
time.
interesting. Very interesting. So can you help? We'll go slightly deeper into each of these. So you said 40% commodities, 30% global equities, and 30% largely emerging markets, and a little bit of cash. Let's go each of these components one by one. When we talk about commodities, right? First, if you could give us a very ballpark breakup of how much is gold, how much is silver, how much is natural gas. What are the levers that you still see after such a big rally in commodities that it will continue to go up? And is interest rate where it will change, or there is something else that should be looked at for us to understand that the commodity super cycle is breaking?
So I cannot give you an individual percentages because that is for
That's okay.
investors.
No problem.
Top 5
Sure.
is what comes in
Sure.
public domain, which you can see. But I will answer
Sure.
on the gold part. I think you
Sure.
you asked about the gold part. Now, our view on gold was made very clear, crystal clear on the day the Ukraine-Russia war happened and Russia's FX reserve was sanctioned.
Sure.
Now, obviously, continued from that day, and it is the conviction has continued to build on. What is the conviction today? Because past has no meaning. It's like driving a car.
Absolutely.
Mirror.
Absolutely.
You will still look at this December ends fact sheet and you will find GLD, gold ETF, as a top position, which has been there for a long period of time.
Sure.
I believe the global monetary system is changing, where US is not going to be hegemon anymore or the reserve currency anymore. Actually, the actions of US tells you that it is not want to be the reserve currency anymore. It just cannot tell us. The day it tells us, everybody will sell dollar. No?
Yeah.
The action speaks louder than the word.
Yeah.
But there is nobody else which is willing to become a hegemon, including China. China doesn't want to become. Let me be very clear about it. Because the basic requirement for becoming a hegemon or a reserve currency is that you have to share your GDP with everybody else.
Sure.
You have to internationalize currency. You have to police the shipping line across the world to keep the world safe. Now, who would want to take that responsibility in the world if US is withdrawing from that responsibility?
Sure.
Maybe in 10 years, somebody will come. Now, during this transition period, which happens every 100 years, every 100 years, an empire becomes arrogant, enters into never-ending wars, rakes up too much debt, and then, it's a dying empire. It's like a Contracti of Winter. If people should read Contracti of Winter, it is exactly like an empire life. Only Roman Empire is the one which lasted for a very much longer period of time. Sure. Otherwise, over the last 500 years, it is 100 years is the average life of an empire. So if the empire is ending and there is nobody else which is willing to take the place of that empire, which there was always somebody in the last 500 years, then for the time being, gold will act as an anchor to the world. Now, gold will not become the reserve currency because we are in a fractional banking system world. You cannot have gold for a fractional banking system.
Yeah.
Where money can be multiplied by the commercial bank itself. Money is not multiplied by central bank. Money is multiplied by the commercial bank. So how can it be bad? What will happen is gold will come out as a neutral reserve asset. Means it will become a central banker's asset. It will become a government asset. where the confidence in a particular government will be determined by, if it is not a net exporter, will be determined by how much gold does it have. And I can already see that China was doing this thing, was working on this thing for the last 12, 13 years. When they realized after 2008, the way US banks were bailed out, US economy were bailed out, the debt went up. If I was a debt holder at that point of time, I said this country will inflate away its debt.
Yeah.
From 2013, I started reducing my US Treasury holding. China was the first country to do it. They realized in 2013 there was the top in their US Treasury holding. So they started reducing it. They started making sure that their citizens buy gold. In fact, buying gold is a last 15, 20 years phenomena in China. As per Liu Groman, their citizens now own 27,000 tons of gold. Citizens. How much it is owned by the government, we have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
Now, what they are trying to do is they do not want to be the reserve currency. Plus, we will not treat that country as Chinese yuan as a reserve currency. Like we don't trust it, right? We don't trust it.
Yeah.
Whatever said and done, we still trust USD for transactions, right? So USD will continue to be the reserve currency. It will be a diminished reserve currency. But what China is saying, I do not even want to be the reserve currency. So what I'm trying to do is, if there is somebody who's net exporting to me and getting CNY in return, then they can convert that gold at Shanghai Metal Exchange and fly that gold back home.
Yeah.
Better, I will open a gold vault in Saudi Arabia, Kyrgyzstan, which is published news actually. 4 or 5 countries I will do it, so that it is not only in China, it is in other parts of the world. So the net settlement of trade balances between the country, we will allow in the form of gold.
So I'll just explain this and correct me for the viewers if they don't understand. So if India is exporting to China and net, we are a net exporter. So we import less and export more, which means we'll have more Chinese yuan. And if you don't want to keep Chinese yuan for yourself, give those Chinese yuans and take gold against it, is what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Yes. And that gold will be used for international transaction. According to one of my client with a very deep knowledge, he says over the next few years, gold will not be in the hand of retail public. Actually, people don't realize during Roman times, those barbarian times, general public had never seen what gold looks like. So there is a actually you can read it on in history, that a barbarian saw a bag full of gold, other jewelries, and some tools, and he left the gold over there and took the different the tools and all from that bag and left the gold over there simply because
he didn't know what gold looked like. Yeah.
People had never seen gold. It is just only in the modern history that we have seen gold. Gold was always used for transactions between kings, where one king lost to the other king and that king had to give reparation in the form of gold. So today is when I think a time will come where gold will go back being the currencies of government and central bank. So what will be the price of that gold? I do not know, but it will be significantly higher than the current price. Now, what will change my view? Obviously, I can be wrong. And we should always... So making money is the easier part. Managing risk is a much more difficult part.
Agree.
The time will come, who knows, US is reindustrialized. Who knows, US debt to GDP is down. Who knows, US is able to do, work it out completely. They were able to do it between 1944 to 52. They were able to do it. That was the only time in the history their debt to GDP was 130%. And within 8-9 years, it went down to 70-80%.
Oh, nice. Interesting.
During those 7-8 years, bonds became certificate of confiscation, but industrial production went through the roof. The country was industrialized and the country was ready to take the responsibility of the reserve currency. Again. So who knows that their debt to GDP comes down dramatically. I'm open to that possibility, because you should never bet against America. I always, and that is a reality. That country does always right in the end. Okay, for themselves. So I'm open to that. I'm open to other possibilities also. where gold is not the reserve currency. Or as people keep on sending me WhatsApp that there is an asteroid mining coming, or gold can be produced like a diamond kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm not but what I'm saying is going right is the easiest thing in life, okay,
Sure.
which we
Sure.
want right. We do not want that we take it that we need to take it everything with a pinch of salt at this point of time and saying yes, I can be wrong.
Sure.
What will make me things wrong? But for the time being, what I look at it is I have a clear runway of at least next 3-4 years. Looking at what President Trump
Easily
is doing,
looks like. Easily looks
he's there
like.
for
Yeah.
next 2 years
Yeah.
minimum 2 years. If he
Yeah.
becomes a lame duck after midterms, if he loses midterms and a lame duck, then even any chances of industrialization of US is over.
Can you explain this midterm? Because people here in India would not know the re-election at the halftime and all of that in US.
So they have a midterms in 2026 November, December, and if during that midterms there is a very high chance that Democrats will take Senate. So if Democrats take it, okay, then none of the bills will get passed. Secondly, he himself has said that if Democrats take it, I might be impeached again. That means they will not allow the work to happen. Think about it in Lok Sabha, if your opposition starts getting more seats, okay,
Yeah.
then at some point of time, those whatever government wants to do is put on a back burner, and they are fighting on a daily basis. They're not able to have
Correct.
a proper agenda being done.
Correct.
Right.
So it's like in the 4-year term at the midpoint in the second
Yes.
year, it's like a small re-election where
Small re-election.
if the opposition party wins, then Trump is going to be in a bad shape, is what we are trying to say in simple
Or
language.
any
Yeah.
president, sitting president, if his party loses, one, it's a referendum on that president.
Yeah.
And secondly, President Trump is such a polarizing figure that he's the one everybody wants to impeach.
True.
So
True that.
then the agenda is lost. Then
Yeah.
for me, if he loses that thing, then I would say that gold goes parabolic. Then it goes parabolic because till that point
Correct.
of time, and if he wins, there is still a chance US get reindustrialized.
Yeah.
There is a very peaceful division in the world that
Yeah.
US is running something different, China is running something different. Okay, there are two systems, proper systems. Then he becomes more powerful also. Okay, but then he is able to get reindustrialization done in US with hook and crook.
Yeah.
So I'm open to every of these possibility, and the portfolio needs to reflect changes if the facts change.
Sure. I take your point, and which is why long gold makes a lot of sense in whatever you've just discussed. But there are two other commodities that are extensively spoken about. So I wanted your view on that. One is silver and another is copper. Is it industrialization? Is it investment demand? What's happening?
So investment demand is always there in silver. When gold becomes so costly, then people want to go to the poor cousin. It's like large cap becomes, P multiple goes through the roof. People say, "Yaar, sasta kya hai?" They want to buy the small cap.
Sure.
Think of it as that way. Historically, silver has been 2 to 3% of the value of gold. Last 50 years data I have. During Hunt Brothers' time, it was 6% of the value of gold. But we keep that as an outlier.
Sure.
What we say is average has been 2%. So as it is, if you go just back by history, then it should be 2% of the value of gold. But there is something interesting happening in the world where Samsung just took a silver mine in Mexico. Now, what is happening is in intermittent energy, the biggest problem is battery storage.
True.
It seems that some automakers in technology companies in Korea and US have cracked that thing, and for that batteries, silver is a very, very important
correct
metal. Now it's all in public domain. It's not that I have a separate information, but
Sure.
the amount of silver required for that battery is very, very high. There are some very good research. I have it privately with me, so I cannot quote them in public domain. But given to understand from the people who understand this industry, that the silver content required for those batteries, EV batteries, is very high content.
Sure.
even for EV batteries, for intermittent energy. The battery storage it looks like silver is having a very high content.
Sure.
So this is one more tailwind for silver, if we talk
For
about
silver.
it. It's just a tailwind for silver. But all in all, if the large caps becomes too costly or it's too highly valued, we know how people love $10 stock in India. It's the same thing
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is a poor man's gold. And before the end of this bull market, I believe it will not be 2% of the value of gold. I believe the last stages will be euphoria stages. When
Yeah.
in euphoria stages, it could be 3% and 4%. Who knows? But we don't know. What if we've seen euphoria, then everything is thrown to the caution is thrown to the wind. So that is where I believe that. But silver is the problem with silver is very, very volatile. So
True.
although gold can be a big part of your portfolio, the problem with silver is it cannot be a big part of portfolio,
Sure.
irrespective of.
Sure. Sure.
Copper is an energy transition metal.
Correct.
Now, carbon credits, energy transition, solar stocks, they've already started doing very well. So either you can listen to President Trump, where he's trashing all this thing, or you can listen to the market.
Yeah.
And I always listen to the market. Market is always right. All these stocks, and I missed that thing. As soon as President Trump came, he says, no energy transition, right? He went back to his fossil fuel, coal, and all those things. Obviously,
Yeah.
those things are done well. But here, the solar has done well. Carbon credit has just put a new 52-week high. ETF, carbon credit ETF. So there is energy transition, whether in solar, wind, or something, which is still going on big time. All these things, the number one metal which is required for energy transition is
It's
copper.
copper.
The new copper mine takes from the ground, from the time you start, you want to dig it place, it takes 17 years for a new copper mine to come in. Some people talk
Oh,
about
wow.
27 years, but I googled it. I said 27 bolunga to it will be like just talking from here. But I have listened to real copper executives where they say in public domain it is 27 years. I just couldn't find the quote from that guy, and I
Sure.
like that guy. Okay. But reasonable to assume that if you Google it, my words, this guy is saying 17 years, you will find 17 years.
Sure.
So there is no new copper supply which is coming over there. And it's a number one energy transition material. Now, first gold went parabolic, then silver went parabolic. Copper started going parabolic only in December.
True.
2026
True.
would be the year of copper.
Copper.
Finally, we realized, yes, all these energy transition is real, it is happening, and then you have move coming in copper or uranium, for nuclear energy. So that is uranium is also a part of my portfolio.
Sure.
Aluminium is a separate thing altogether. Aluminium is all energy transformed. It's just energy.
Sure.
And that is the biggest problem which we face today is that there is no energy, cheap, reliable energy outside of China. There is just no. So you are actually, for you, aluminium is just energy, nothing more than that. And for industrialization, you require aluminium. So I'm very bullish on base metals. There is no way to play aluminium in an ETF form in US, but there are copper ETFs. There are good copper miners ETF. It's a very big grade set.
Yeah.
So I'm bullish on these metals. I have copper, uranium, gold, silver miners, and added oil and natural gas in the last couple of months.
Very interesting. I think that's a very elaborate answer of why do you hold 40% of your portfolio into commodities, and it kind of now makes sense to me of what your thought process is and why such a large position in the fund. From what I hear from you is that 30% is still global, in which 75% or 65 DM, sorry, my bad. In which also 65-70% is US, but your trade is very different from the world. The world is going towards tech, and you probably, if I understand, because I read you are going towards electrification. Am I correct? Or what's your trade? What's your trade in the DM side?
Now, though, I don't have to explain. Jensen Huang just said, the problem is not chips, the problem is electricity.
Electricity, true.
Look, any new model, the first day I read that AI search query takes 25 times more compute power than the normal Google search query.
Yeah.
That it was electrification. It was very simple. Where is the electricity? Let these people fight over new models. There is
Yeah, yeah,
electricity.
yeah. Correct.
Second, US grid is 25-year-old. So think about it. I'm not talking about electricity. I'm talking about electrification.
Correct.
Solar can give you enough electricity.
Yeah, but how do you transport?
There is
No.
how to put it on grid. Wind can give you enough at some locations. How to put it on grid, and it is intermittent in nature. So you have battery storage also over there. Okay. So I've just said electricity. I always likes to play only through picks and shovels model. So wherever there is a theme, wherever there is a country, I have a view on the currency also first.
Okay.
Because what is the point? Think about it. One fund, Japan fund in India made 18% return, but the Japanese ETF, currency hedge Japanese ETF in US made 38% return.
Yeah. Yeah.
20% was currency depreciation of JPY versus the USD.
Yeah.
So on equity side, wherever I'm doing thematics, it is all picks and shovels. On currency, on country side where I'm doing, I'm taking first call on the currency, then call on the equity market. So there is no point investing in Venezuela. Although Venezuelan market could have gone through the roof, you lost money in Venezuelan bolivar. So
Correct.
not that we can invest in Venezuela. Venezuelan ETF is not liquid. So I'm just giving an example over here. But wherever it's a country ETF, currency, and then asset market, wherever it is thematic ETF or theme, a particular theme, it is all about how is it a picks and shovel of the main theme.
Sure. So what are these sub themes within electrification that you're looking at? If you could help us understand.
Yeah. So I have grid, US grid ETF. Name itself tell you something about it.
Yeah.
I have US infrastructure ETF.
Sure.
I have free cash flow ETF because interest rates are going to come down. Free cash flow yields will go up. So yeah, these are some of them which we've added a lot more in industrials. Industrials was a long time back.
Sure.
Industrials, US industrials.
Yeah.
Then materials is what we have added in the last 2-3 months. So there is nothing of tech. I have never ever invested in tech in Pinetree ever. Even my personal portfolio, I've never ever invested simply because there are enough people who have better understanding than me on each and every of these companies. I do not have any advantage over these people.
Sure.
I have advantage only in the places which nobody is looking at.
Sure.
And that is how you build up a portfolio. There is no advantage in what you're doing, which everybody is doing.
Yeah. So we discussed of the DM and within DM what you're doing in US. What outside of US are you holding?
So outside of US, I'm holding Japan. Japan has been a core holding for a long period of time. I got Europe in January simply because as soon as President Trump came and he said something about what Europe needs to do, I realized that their fiscal spending will go up. And I took a call on euro dollar also. So I have Europe, I have UK a little bit, and I have Japan.
What's the thought behind Japan?
So Japan is trying to inflate away its debt. Till first 2 years, I was having currency hedged Japan ETF in my portfolio. That's the only currency hedged ETF in the world. So I did not lose money on the currency, and I was able to participate in Nikkei rally. After 2 years, when I realized that yen has actually become very cheap, then I shifted from currency hedge Japan to non-currency hedge Japan.
You made money on currency also.
Yes. Then after that, currency is stable. But then I said, I do not think that JPY will depreciate from here. So I just shifted from there. So I played from 125 yen to 160 kind of thing. And around that level, I shifted to non-currency hedged Japan.
So is it when the leadership changed and the budget said that they will be willing to spend some $800 billion on the economy? Was that?
I don't remember, but what I remember is I was reading an entire paper on what is happening in Japan, how Japan has become very cheap. People who were going to Japan and they were comparing the prices of Japanese food to the food in US, and the tourists were saying how cheap it has become. And at that point of time, maybe it would have clicked in my mind. I read so much that
Sure, sure,
something would have clicked in my mind. I said, no, now I don't think Japanese yen should need to depreciate, but
sure.
they will continue to inflate away their debt. So how to play that thing? If the JPY is not, costly, it's cheap, then why need a currency hedge over here? That's the reason.
Absolutely. And what's the story with UK?
So UK is a non-tech market. It is actually, if you look at it over here, they are one of those markets where it is not tech at all. Secondly, UK valuations had become very, very cheap. So and UK fund managers in the pension funds, including Europe, had been investing their surpluses in US rather than in their home country. After what US has done to rest of the world, even Canadian pension funds, which have $1 trillion invested in US, are looking to reallocate their capital away from US. So think about it. We had all become very complacent as a fund management industry. One asset was continuing doing well. We continued to buy that asset. So US was 30% of global GDP in 2009 and 25% of global market cap. Today, US is 25% of global GDP, but 65% of global market cap. That means the rest of the world saving are hiding in US. Now, if US is picking up fights with everybody whose pension fund money is in US, then it's a matter of time that money will find its way back home or some other place.
Back.
And UK has very large pension assets invested across the world. There are a lot of good pharma companies in the indexes. So I wanted to, that's the simple reason I said UK is cheap. Let me go back to UK and pick up a small position in UK.
Very interesting. I speak to so many fund managers, but this is one view that I heard for the first time. I've never had anybody tell me this, of why they are investing in the UK. Very fascinated to hear this. Very interesting. And let's talk about the last piece. You said EMs, emerging markets, where you have another 30%. What's the split within the EM?
So China, I would still consider under EM. China it's not a part of DM. I would consider it under EM.
Sure.
Then I have a small part in Vietnam, Indonesia. Again, picked up Turkey. Although Turkey you can say in DM or EM wherever you want. So these are few of the positions which I have it in my portfolio, but the significant among them is actually China.
And are you again?
And China industrials. Both I have it in my portfolio.
Industrials.
I have some Africa, which is a part of EM. Africa have been very bullish for last 3 years, but there is no Africa ETF, which is properly structured. So there is one company in my portfolio. I never buy companies, first of all. Minimum 80% has to be ETF. But up to 20%, wherever there are no ETF, I am allowed to buy companies. So I have one single company in my portfolio, which is an Amazon of Africa, because I believe that US left that continent some time back and China entered that continent, spending money, creating infrastructure. Then Russia through Wagner Group came in to stabilize the regimes. And now Africans are throwing out their colonial masters. And Americans have realized that they left that continent, and that continent has resources. It has the next young people, the next, the consumers in the world. So a lot of resources will be thrown in Africa. So I bought Amazon of Africa in my portfolio. So I have these.
Very interesting.
And then I have LATAM. I have both Brazil and Argentina. Simply because if I'm a commodity, I have a commodity view.
Yeah, of course.
And I need to have, I don't understand Chile, but either you can have Chile or you can have copper. It's the same thing. So I have copper. And I have Argentina and Brazil. Now let me tell you that Argentina has been a good ride. But Brazil is something which has not given that kind of return, and Turkey always ends in tear whenever I invest in Turkey.
But didn't Brazil do very well the last year? Because I was looking at this HSBC Brazil fund, which delivered some good 65% CAGR the last year.
Actually, I don't think so. Actually, you would have looked at the INR return. INR Brazil real.
Maybe yes.
I am looking at USD return because I invest. For me, everything has to be USD denominated.
Okay, maybe
I am taking a call. So when President Lula came, his policy were more on the socialist side. Then he started picking up fight with President Trump. it's only in the last 3 months, basically, October, November, December is when Brazil has started doing that.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. There's no India in your portfolio at this point in time?
So there are two things. One, I'm not India. If you buy India, then it is considered as a round tripping of money. That you're
Oh,
taking money
okay.
back and investing back in India. So I do not
Okay.
have India. I used to have 1 or 2% in India, but then we got some opinion that there is no need to have like 1 and 2. You do not want to be on the wrong side of the law. Let's have it zero. So we took a call some time back not to have an India. Plus, all these clients, they can have
Oh,
the India exposure. No, so whenever they want, they can take
yeah,
the
yeah,
complete
yeah, yeah.
India exposure. So they don't need to be there with me.
Absolutely.
So yes, so that is how it is.
I think this is very interesting. I'm going to leave you with one very interesting question that I want to understand from you. And correct me if this thought is correct. Uh, I think in the changing dynamics around geopolitics, what we are typically seeing is that US and some of these other developing markets will go towards stablecoin led monetary policy. And then you will have China, Russia, India go towards gold monetary policy, right? Could you help us understand what this really means? Of course, I'm asking more from viewers who are going to view this. So just help us demystify this line.
So US has a simple problem of too much debt, and they are finding less number of people who want to buy their debt. So they are saying that in the coming years, anybody who's exporting to US and exporting to US will become a privilege simply because we are the largest consumer in the world. So it's a privilege for you if you are allowed to export to India, export to US. They are putting it like that, exactly like that. If you want to export to us, let's say I'm an American, US, I will not be giving you US dollar. I will be giving you US stable coin, and you can be rest assured that US stablecoin is backed by the US Treasury bonds. Maybe issued by Citibank, but it will be backed by US Treasury bond. You will get that US stablecoin in the app in your phone. No US dollar. It's an app in your phone. It is transferable, tradable, whatever you want. This is how Americans will control who exports to them. And Americans will have a new buyer for their treasury, bypassing. Earlier you used to get the US dollar and you used to invest back in JP Morgan Nostro account or whatever it is. So they're basically cutting out the entire banking system from it. Banking deposits will they don't care about if the banking deposits are lost. They want that anybody exporting to US should get a stable coin backed by US Treasury, and that US Treasury will carry a separate coupon than the normal coupon which it carries today. So what they're typically trying to do, correct me if I understand this well, because they don't have anybody who's going to take their debt. This stable coin, issuance of stable coin will lead to more financing of their debt. Yes. So their stable coin issuance today is up to $300 billion. They want to take it to a couple of trillion dollars in 4 or 5 years. If they're able to take it to a couple of trillion dollars, then it's a big thing. But Europeans are already fighting against that thing. It's like, they will all lose their sovereignty. Even Chinese are, they do not want, nobody wants to is happy with that thing that, they lose sovereignty over their monetary policy. On the other hand, so when you talk about India, China, and Russia, I will keep India out of that as of now. Okay. I would say that the other system is the gold-backed system, where it is possible you have a gold-backed stablecoin also. China issuing gold-backed stablecoin also. There are some discussions happening about gold-backed stablecoin, but a Western world system which is accessible, US markets will be accessible only to those people who accept US stablecoins. Okay, it's a very clear system. The other system is the gold-backed system, where it is gold is not the reserve currency. Gold will be used for settling net trade balances between the countries, bypassing the USD. Actually, if you look at it, India was already doing it in some other form, where we gave $40 billion. We bought oil from from Russia, and we were running a trade deficit, I think, of $40 billion with Russia. So we gave them $40 billion worth
of gold.
INR.
Okay.
In Vostro account
Okay.
with one of the public sector banks in India, which was later sanctioned by US. And that 40 billion in INR, we have actually told Russia, you can use that INR for a lot of things, but we cannot allow you to invest in some part because it will look like it was not optically good. For the first time, we are allowing Russians to use that INR to invest in Indian equity markets. So in Russia, there is a Bank has launched an India-specific ETF where you can use, I think, some of this Vostro money to invest into Indian markets. So there are already countries which are doing it. Like China is today importing all its raw material and everything, not denominated in USD. They are bypassing the USD already. So these are the two systems which are in front of you. US will want it to be a stablecoin-led system. And rest of the world means BRICS will want it to be a gold-backed system. There is one more reason for it. The biggest mines or the owners of gold assets in the world are Russia and China. It is not US.
Correct.
So how can US allow gold to be the reserve asset when it does not own it? The Western world does not own gold. Because high trust societies don't require gold. They never required gold. It is the low trust societies which have demand for gold. So you will have these systems coming out very clearly in the next 3-4 years. All those, the thing is, it will be programmable, stablecoin, and US will know at all given point of time who owns these stablecoins, including if they will know if a Mexican cartel owns that stablecoin. So it's like digital ID only. There's nothing outside of that. But it will not be US dollar anymore. Like today, 50% of all US dollar are outside US jurisdiction. They don't even know who owns that US dollar. So they want to control their own destiny also through this way.
I think very interesting. Because there is so much that I absolutely had no idea about of what you spoke, and extremely deep learning for me in the conversation. And I'm hoping that anybody who's watching us would take home a lot of things today. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments because they would have not understood a couple of things that you said, but I'm sure I'll try my level best to answer their queries if at all that comes up in the comment section. Ritesh, thank you so much for taking the time out, and it was a pleasure hosting you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kirtan.